Welcome to Own the Season podcast. We will talk to industry insiders along with outdoor enthusiasts to help you own your season. Now let's join hosts Art and Michelle Helen with Brad Jones.
Hello and welcome to Own the Season podcast. I'm Michelle Helen along with Art Helen and Brad Jones. And today our guest is our friend, Captain Jake Kaprelian from Epic Guide Service. Hey, Jake.
How's it going? Thanks for having me on today.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. It's really nice to talk to you in the off season, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it seems like whenever we get together, it's always hectic and crazy busy seasons. But yeah, definitely a little bit slower times right now. So
yeah,
good to catch up and talk some fishing and see what's going on.
Well, it's snowing out right now, and I want the snow to end because my biggest question right now is for me personally. It's not for Michelle or Brad or anybody else, but when are we getting out in the boat this spring? Are we going to go after the pre-spawn? Are we going after the post-spawn? Are we doing both? You know, there's a lot of things we can do.
Am I uninvited?
Well,
what just happened there?
She's only invited if we want to catch big ones, right?
Or see a big fish pot, yeah.
True story.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I'll be ready to go as soon as the ice is off the rivers or whatever happens. I mean, it's there is a lot of ice on the bay. I drove my truck out there last week, which was the first for me. I don't ice fish much, so that's how much ice is out there. So you know how the ice shifts around out there and stuff, and there's that much ice that you can drive vehicles out there right now. So we're getting a little bit of snow melt, so that'll help. You know, hopefully up north we get some more snow and whatnot. But otherwise, it could be a later. You know, who knows? It all happens so quick, but it could be a little bit later ice out than obviously last year.
Yeah. Well, just a little background for everybody listening. Jake is fishing guide service on the Bay of Green Bay here in Wisconsin, a fabulous fishery that we are lucky to have in our state. And we're lucky to have been introduced to Jake, you know, through our contacts in the hunting and fishing business.
Why don't you start out, fill us in on, you know, what you do when they start, you know, the different things of the fishing season, and is it strictly walleyes? Is it bass? What do you do?
Yeah, no, I mean, we're multi-species guide service. We kind of like to capitalize on the best times of the year for certain species and, certain trophy size fish of different species too. You know, Green Bay is all about timing, right? You know, water temperatures can vary a lot. So you get to see a whole lot of different patterns of fish, when you start fishing at ice out and fish, until later in the fall. So it kind of varies just by season, what we're doing, what's best at the time. But we offer fully guided, walleye trips on Green Bay. We do smallmouth bass trips. We do muskie trips, and we do yellow perch trips too. So just kind of depends on what's biting and what you're looking to do. And typically, people will reach out and kind of say, hey, this is what I want to do. And just from fishing out there and experience and whatnot, we just kind of steer them in the right direction of the time frame that they want to come, and hope that the stars align and the weather cooperates and things work out for everyone. So.
All right. Well, what about sheephead?
There's no guarantees in fishing, but sheephead you almost can promise them, right? They're around.
They're an extra bonus. It comes with
the first couple are fun. After that, then it gets a little annoying, but it's depends if they're spawning or not, right?
Right. Well, we've seen some, giants of, all of those fish you mentioned, come out of the bay. It's like I said, I just think it's a really special place.
It's not too many places you can do, have that caliber of fishing for that many different species. I mean, the size of the muskies and the bass and the walleyes is it's kind of stupid, to be honest with you.
I grew up here in Wisconsin, and I always knew of, Lake Michigan, salmon, trout, things like that. And I don't think back when I was a kid, many people were walleye fishing and muskie fishing, but now it's a major fishery.
Yeah, it's definitely taken off. Even since I first started guiding back there, I mean, things with Facebook and, all that stuff, that's a lot. There's a lot more publicity about it. Back then it wasn't well known for how big the muskies were in there. People didn't think of going to Green Bay to catch muskies, and I mean, it's a world-class fishery with, I mean, there's 50+ pound muskies swimming in Green Bay.
So were those always there? Or was that something that was introduced to
Both. I mean, it's definitely been introduced, as far as stocking numbers and stuff like that. There is some natural reproduction. I mean, but 15, 20 years ago, there still was a good population of muskies out there. But it's, with the dirtier water and whatnot, they've had issues with, spawning. So, DNR's been stocking them, and the muskie clubs help out a lot with that too. Titletown muskies, stuff like that. They help out, and make sure that there's still going to be fish in the future for us.
So what, techniques, different things. I mean, I've been with you multiple times, and, but what type of techniques are you using as far as fishing? Are you trolling? Are you, bait cast, spin casting? What are you doing?
We kind of do everything, depending on, one, what the customers are looking to do, and two, what the best bite opportunity is for the species you're targeting. I always love to cast, whether it's for walleyes or for muskies, and obviously bass is all we do is cast. But for walleyes and muskies, there are times we'll troll. But obviously, there's nothing wrong with catching a 30-inch walleye, whether it's jigging or trolling. I mean, it's a horse apiece. But if we can do hand in hand fishing, I like that. But there's also people that aren't able to do that all day either. Where cast a muskie lure all day, or even cast a walleye lure all day. So sometimes we stick to trolling and do it that way. So it just kind of depends on what they're looking to do and what the best. A lot depends on the weather too. I mean, we could go out, and if it's flat calm, it's probably not going to be a great day for trolling. We might have to jig and go after them and just adapt to the conditions as we get them. So
Jake, what's a typical season look like for you? What species are you targeting first, and then what other species do you go into, and where do you finish your season?
We start off with trophy walleyes in the spring. That's kind of a big deal there's not too much stuff going on around anywhere else. And typically that ice is out, I mean, I normally tell people I start my trips around April 1st. That can give or take a few weeks depending on ice out. But we start off targeting trophy walleyes. I'll catch and release in the spring, but we get a lot of nice, really big fish that come up shallow and offer some really good casting opportunities for some truly world-class fish. And from there, we move on. Trophy walleyes last until about the middle of May. We utilize the east shore and west shore for that. So we can do that till about the middle of May. And then normally in the beginning of May, we'll start doing some bass trips too. The smallmouth bass up in Door County, they come up to spawn, and it's pretty unique to catch. I mean, it's not uncommon to catch 6 to 8 pound smallmouth bass. I mean, lots of 5+ pounders too. So it's a pretty, yeah. We used to never do it, and man, it just, you got something so special right there to do. It's you kind of got to take advantage of it, and it's pretty unique catching those big fish. It's fun. They're old fish, and they're smart, and they don't show up shallow like that very often. So it's pretty fun when you get to catch them.
I bet you those smallmouth at those size really put up a fight.
Yeah, for sure. And then and first Saturday in May, that's when our walleye season opens up for eaters. So we'll start doing a lot of eaters, walleye eater fishing trips too, where we're targeting 16 to 18-inch fish or 20-inch fish, whatever. And for people to go out and catch, have fun, and then on take home fish for a fish fry. And then I just say, I mean, that eater season we do like May into June, and then all the way basically through September, even early October. The fishing is good for walleyes. There's a couple times in there where we can catch some bigger fish too. Later in the summer, there's a good trophy fish bite later in the summer again. And then muskie season, I used to do a spring season for muskies. It's kind of been hit or miss the last few years. So, sometimes we'll still run a few weeks for opener into the first or second week of June. But typically most of our muskie fishing we do is mid to late July, all the way up until end of October or so.
Why do you think that is? Would you have any theories on why the early muskie fishing hasn't been as good the last couple of years?
I think popularity. A lot of them fish used to go up and spawn in the rivers. I think they're utilizing the lake more now than anything, but the water levels have drastically changed too. We lost a lot of water, so that it kind of changes their spawning areas and whatnot too. And some of the areas that they spawn in, you can't really get into, and it seems like the water temperatures are warmer than what they had been in years past, and the fish are just moving out deep, after the spawn, and going once the fish move out deep, they're hard to target. So it's they're going out and feeding on whitefish and whatnot, and sheephead, and filling up from after the spawn. But it seems like most of the time, by the time the open season opens up for muskies, a lot of them fish they're already spawned out, which is good. It lets them do their thing and hopefully not get harassed too much. So because those fish are very fragile in the spring. If the water warms up and they just got done spawning, there can definitely be some mortality rates from anglers catching them too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, muskies are a lot more fragile than people think they are because they're a big fish. They look mean, everything else, but they don't handle the stress of the heat, I believe, as well.
No, they fight hard. That's a lot of energy expended, and I think that's one thing that going with a guide such as yourself, we found that you're so knowledgeable, about the water body, about the fish that are in it, and what's going on, and it's not just about enjoying that today and making sure that your clients are having a good experience, but in the end, we all want to make sure that we can continue to have this great fishery and these experiences into the future.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I mean, there's different, things you could do for that too. It's kind of one unwritten rule that we do as guides is most of us, if we're doing eater trips, anything over like 21, 22 inches, we let those fish go. There is no slot size on Green Bay. But, if we're looking for eater fish, we try to keep the smaller fish and let those bigger females go and spawn. And same thing with the yellow perch and stuff too. I mean, the limits are there, but you can definitely put some pressure on a fishery pretty quick.
But when I was growing up, the fishery was really poor for perch. I mean,
yeah.
I believe it was closed for a while, wasn't it?
Yeah, it is, and that's what's happening right now. Unfortunately, is that I used to talk to my neighbors up there that in the 70s the perch fishing was unbelievable, and they literally, perch fishing wasn't regulated correctly, and they got fished to basically extinction on the bay.
Fished out. We can say fished out.
for sure, yes. And that's what happened, and unfortunately, I feel like that's starting to happen again on Green Bay, especially with the perch population. We had several years of high water. Maybe this is the third year without it, but we had 3 or 4 years of really high water, and that people don't understand how good the spawning is when you have high water and those fish can get in the marshes and spawn. And we had that 3 or 4 years in a row. So I mean, the amount of fish that were in the system for the last 3, 4, 5, 6 years is not normal. So people, it's good right now for sure, but it definitely needs to be an eye kept on it and make sure things are going good. So,
right. As Michelle said with the guide, I kind of allude to that as, myself, we own a boat. We do a lot of fishing. We've got a place in Boulder Junction. We go up, I do a lot of walleye fishing up there, muskie fishing, smallmouth fishing. So people ask me all the time, they're like, well, why are you hiring a guide? Why are you going with Jake? Well, other than I like Jake, and he's got a boat that can handle the big water, and that's part of it is, you sit back and you have to look at the equipment that you also have for the body of water, and again, the knowledge. Green Bay is so big. For me just to pull my boat up there, I would spend an entire day trying to look for fish and maybe get into a few where that is what you do. You understand it. You have the equipment for it, and you have the boat for it. I mean, I've got a good size Alumacraft, but I'm going to tell you what, we've been out on that water before with you where
we've had some rough days.
Yeah,
we've had
things
some
are
really
not
rough
pretty.
days.
Yeah, it's not always very comfortable out there.
No, I mean, I've seen some pretty big boats turn around and leave, and I'm kind of thinking to myself, are we really staying out here? And Jake's like, hey, let's run across the lake. I'm like, what? Are you serious? And, but you're pretty stable in that boat, and you feel good about it. And I think that also goes back to earlier when you were talking about trolling compared to casting and things like that. There's so many things I think that go into that people don't realize. Is you get out there, part of it again is the equipment, the size of the boat, different things, how comfortable you are, because we've been out there in some pretty big waves trying to cast, and when you're physically not used to that every day, and I mean, I used to be in a lot better physical shape. Now I'm, not in the best shape in the world, but it's when you are in physical shape, you get out there and all of a sudden you're trying to support yourself as you're casting in those big waves and everything else. It wears you out pretty quick. So, people need to be, conscious of that and say, this is what I want to do. And personally, I like to troll when I'm up there. I like to cast too, but I'm one of those guys, after breaking my back and doing some things that, I get a couple hours in of casting musky lures, and I'm like, all right, man, we need to, change this up, or I just sit down and watch you and Michelle for a little while and say, you guys cast for a while, and we can, because there's days you say, yeah, trolling just isn't going to happen today, and other days you're like, hey, you know what, let's try it, because we've fished enough together that when I'm wore out and my back's killing me, and you just say, all right, we'll
switch it up and do something different.
Right.
Oh yeah, you got to make it fun for everyone and enjoyable. But it's and the thing too is the trolling we do, it's interactive. It's not boring. I mean, everyone says trolling's boring. If trolling's boring, you're doing it wrong. I mean, there's the amount of lines you got and checking baits and changing lures and stuff. I mean, it's fun to teach people how to do. You're not just casting a line out the back of the boat. There is a science to it, also.
Right. And I've I do a lot of trolling up north, but it's again the size of the water there and what you need to understand. And I guess that's what I'm trying to get people to understand is, even if you have that equipment and you have that boat, a lot of times it's great to go up, and go with that guide and do that, because by the time you pay that guide for what it costs you to take your boat up there and do everything else and buy all the right equipment,
to have a day of scouting,
right?
Because you haven't.
It's a lot easier just to do this. And that's why I say people are like, well, Art, you can do this. Yeah, I can. But you know what? It's sometimes it's a lot more enjoyable to go with somebody else where I don't have to do that. Because when I'm up north, if we're taking a lot of friends and stuff out,
he's guiding.
I'm the one who's doing
us,
that. I'm
right?
guiding everybody else. This is what you got to do.
Yeah.
When I'm the one setting the rods and the reels, doing everything for trolling and the boards and trying to figure all that out. Or if we're casting, hey, what should I use? What shouldn't I use? What kind of rods? And so sometimes it's just nice when you're in that situation to just say, you know what, I'm going to go sit back here and I'm going to drink my water so you don't get dehydrated. And that's another thing. People don't realize how dehydrated you get out there on those lakes. And, drink my water and have some fun out here. And so that's a big thing that I think people need to consider too. And then again, like you've been talking, what species? I mean, we've been there for all of them, I think. The one that we really haven't been there yet to target is the jumbo perch. And I'd like to do that sometime, is do like a walleye perch thing. Last year.
Problem is we always go musky fishing once we get our walleye.
I know. True that.
So many options.
It's all kind of the same time frame, so it's like, oh, what do you want to do? But no, yeah, and the thing about it, like you were saying too, is for people to bring their boats up there, is how efficient are you going to be? That's the thing, is I mean, when you get on that water, there's so many different variables that can happen with water temperatures, and people don't understand how much current is on the lake either. I mean, the lake fish is like a river system a lot of times, just because of how much current there is, and There's just so many different things to understand. It's like, yeah, you can shorten your learning curve real quick by hiring someone that, you know, has some knowledge out on the local body of water.
Absolutely. If you want to go out fishing and have a good day, hire a guide. I mean, they know exactly what's biting at that time of the season, what lure to use, what bait to use. I mean, increase your success and have fun. Hire a guide, I always say.
Yeah, because I
Yeah,
think
right.
you just hit on it a little bit right there, Brad, is that, you know, it's one thing to be like, you know, like say we did go to Green Bay and, you know, we fish it a few times and we, you know, learn, you know, couple things and, you know, find a couple spots or whatever. But that only worked like on that day at that time, on that year at that time. You know, when guides are out there day after day after day, you're seeing those changes as they occur that you're never going to get by just hunting a body of water once or twice a year. It's a crapshoot every time you go. If you're doing that,
Oh yeah,
you know, where you're
especially
like following
on how
the
much
fish,
they move.
you know, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And we've noticed that, you know, that you are in constant communication with, you know, other guys that guide for you or other guides on the lake, because we've been out there. Like last year we brought Jim Miller up, and it was a horrible day. I mean, the weather was horrible, everything, but you're like, hey, you know what? They're doing good across the lake, and this is where that boat and that knowledge comes in, because you look at Green Bay again, and we put in up by Door County, and the next thing you know is we're 10 miles across the lake, heading across the lake, and I'm thinking, yeah, no, this is not happening with my own boat. But you head to the west side of that, and there's how many miles and miles and miles of shoreline that now you know where to go, but we don't. You know, as somebody, that's why you hire the guides and do what you do, so you can go up and enjoy it and have a fun day of fishing. And so
when I go on vacation, I don't mind hiring guides.
That's yeah.
Everyone's like, "Don't you want to do it?" I'm like, "No, I want to sit back and watch somebody else do it and enjoy it." And you know, especially like we go to saltwater fishing or something in the winter, and like I'll no, those guys know what they're doing, and let them do what they do, and there's a reason that, you know, they're good at their trade. So
Right. Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to here, you know, sometime in April, getting that text late in the afternoon that says, "Hey, I had a cancellation tomorrow. What are you doing tomorrow?" And go, "Oh man, that means I gotta leave my house at 2
Good thing we're not any
a.m.
further away.
Yeah, 2 a.m. to get up there."
It's a jaunt, but
okay, I think I can do that.
Isn't that an
normally
easy
works
response?
out.
Isn't that an easy response? What time do I need to be there?
Well, and
usually that's what it is.
Usually is. And Michelle look at me, and I'm like, "Unfortunately, you got to work tomorrow, but I'm heading to Green Bay."
Good news, bad news.
Yeah, good news, bad news. But yeah, I mean, so what kind of, you know, if somebody came with you, what do they expect? I mean, what kind of, what's your setup, and
what should they bring?
yeah, and what should they bring? Things like that.
I mean, we offer different packages, I guess. But yeah, typically what we do is like either half days or full days. Our trips are fully guided, so we provide all the equipment, and we prefer that we use our equipment. Just like you guys said, you know, I mean, it's bigger water, bigger stuff, different. You know, it's not always your typical, you know, inland setups and this and that. So, you know, normally we like to have our stuff. But yeah, we'll do half days and full days. But we provide everything on the boat. You know, you do need to have a paper copy of your fishing license. That's the biggest thing. But really, besides that, I tell people bring a cooler for, you know, if they want beverages or lunch or whatnot. We do not clean fish just because of minimum size restriction issues. You know, we guide waterfowl hunts in the fall, so we hold permits to do that, and you know, we don't want to you know, jeopardize anything there, so we don't clean fish. But you know, I mean, typically where we're fishing, there's normally a fish cleaning station somewhere close by. But we'll provide all the bait, all the gear, all the equipment, rods and reels and stuff like that. You know, and it just depends. You know, we can do multiple boat trips. We can do single boat trips, half days, full days. We also do offer lodging. If we get people that come from out of town and want to stay overnight or stay for a week or whatever, it doesn't matter. But yeah, we got a house on the lake that I rent out. So that's kind of centrally located between the East Shore and the West Shore. So that helps out a lot too.
How is that going to work out with the draft this year? When is the draft? Is that in the summer? I
No,
don't
the
know. I don't
draft
pay
is
attention.
end of April is a draft.
So do you have any houses available during then, or did you get rid of them all for the draft?
No, I mean I have the lake house is still open, but yeah, that's the other one is full right now. But yeah, we'll have that house. The lake house will be ready to take fishing groups, end of May. So
Nice. So your boat. I mean, how big is the boat? Does it say 2, 4? How many people can book for one boat?
we can take up to 4 people on the boat. 3 people is a little bit more comfortable than 4. But if you want to do 4, we do that quite often. But typically, I mean, it's me and we have 4 boats right now. So we all run Rangers. Our one guy has a Skeeter now, but everyone's got like 21, 22 foot deep fiberglass boats. I personally run a Ranger 622 with a 400 Mercury on it. But yeah, I mean, out there, it's definitely, you need a big fiberglass boat. I mean, when it's nice out, you can get away with, smaller boats if you keep an eye on the weather. But, as a guide where you don't get to pick the days that you're out and you have to fish every day, having a big boat like that is mandatory for sure.
I hear a little voice
yeah.
in the background.
Yeah, I hear a future guide in the background.
Yeah, she woke up. So
How old is she?
No.
How old is she now?
Mason is 9 months now. So I got a 9-month-old, and then Sawyer is like 5.5.
Yeah, and you have a 9-month-old dog too, right?
Yep. Yeah, the dog and the baby were born within 5 days of each other. So
yeah, busy time in the household.
Yeah, it was well. Yeah, we had 7 puppies, so it was a hectic week or 2. but yeah, now the dog doesn't look like a puppy much anymore. He's bigger than his dad, and but he's a good dog. So he play actually him and the baby play. They'll lay on the ground and roll around with each other, and I think they're like friends now, so they like it.
Oh, I bet. Well, the puppy was a good dog when he was a pup in the boat. I can imagine he's just gotten even though he's bigger, he's just even better and better.
He was always pretty chill in the boat. So, but that also helps. I started bringing him in the boat when he was 2-3 months old, probably, and he got to learn, and now he does good in the duck boat and don't have any issues. He's seen a lot of muskies get caught this year, so.
Did he?
He's a good luck dog.
None of those were by me. I can tell you that. I think Michelle did she get 2 that day? Or did she just get 1 this year? Because I know the year before she had 2 when I got my big one.
I think this year we got 2 little ones.
Yeah, could have been. So
I mean, I don't know. I forget every time they're kind of blend together.
Yeah,
sometimes.
I imagine.
Yeah. So, and as far as like you were talking earlier, kind of explain, the bay. As far as west side, east side, north end, different things, because earlier you're talking you have both sides. And is it different spawning? Is it different water temps? Is it just completely different water? What's the big difference? Is it, and why would you fish one over the other?
Well, you kind of made a perfect example earlier about when you said, we ran across to the other side, east shore, west shore, whatever, opposite we were fishing. And in my opinion, they're different ecosystems, really. That's what I like about Green Bay. Like on an inland lake, if the fish aren't biting, you can't go to the other side of the lake and turn the fish on, right? But in Green Bay, there's different currents and different weather patterns just between Door County or Oconto or Marinette or Lower Green Bay. There's different worlds basically. So in my mind, there's never really a time that the fish aren't biting. You should always be able to go somewhere and catch them. But yeah, I mean, as far as like which shore we pick. The West Shore, we always start there, early in the spring because that's the shallow side. Water temps warm up the quickest over there, and that's where a lot of fish go to spawn. So we'll fish over there, typically, early in the season. All year really. But the West Shore is a more shallow side. There's more weeds over there, and shallow structure and stuff like that. But yeah, once the water temps get, if we're doing trophy trips and we're looking to get out for big fish and, the water temps have gotten too high over on the West Shore where those fish have pulled out already, then we can go over to the East Shore and, you might lose 5 or 10 degrees in water temps, and it's, the fish are still either pre-spawn or, they're still the staging from after the spawn there. But typically, like most of our muskie fishing we do over on the West Shore. We do some on the East Shore, but the muskies really like the weeds and stuff better, typically, especially later in the summer. But yeah, and then, besides that, we have, like we do in August. August, sometimes we call it August because we'll go up to Door County and there's another trophy bite up there. In the late summer, for big fish, the big walleyes are up there, and that can be a heck of a good time up there too. Oh, I just say, yeah, you kind of break up, the bay into a couple different sections. There's the bay is so big that there's actually 3 different, like when the DNR breaks it down, there's 3 different sections of how they break it down by food, because there's 3 different main forages of food depending on what section in the bay you're at. So that's how much water's out there.
Yeah, like you said, different worlds. I know sometimes you're able to tell us, which side we're gonna leave from, in the morning, and we, find lodging, close to that. And sometimes you're not able to know until, really closer, and we just find lodging in the center of Green Bay next to the close, and
right,
position ourselves in between so that we can
go
either
I always
direction.
Tell people that's the best, is like just stay down, and depending on the time of the year, but stay down in the lower bay, and that way we can go up the East Shore or the West Shore. Just depends on what the wind's doing. I always tell people I'll text you the night before the trip, because I try to give the weathermen the least amount of time to screw it up.
Yeah, right. And either way, you're not, if you're going from Green Bay, it's not that far of a drive to go up, either way. If you're central there, you want to
go where the fish are at, or you want to not catch anything.
Right.
That's an easy choice for me.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And then the next thing is to take Michelle along so you can see big fish get caught.
Right. She's the good luck, the big fish charm.
I might not be the one like pulling them in, but they say the same thing about when we go over to Lake Michigan. Like
salmon?
Eric will say the same thing. Like, I want to go fishing when Michelle's going fishing so I can see big fish get caught or catch big fish.
Well, I think Art's got the biggest muskie so far, so.
And the biggest walleye, but that was because I came up with you by myself during pre-spawn.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, when I was at work.
But other than that,
someone's got to work.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
True story. But and that's, I guess, the next thing is you look at, and I know this is going to be hard for you to really say, but the big numbers, that 30-inch walleye. When would be the best time to possibly catch one of those? And I know it can be all year, but like if you want it all, that one big fish that's long, heavy, everything else, is it pre-spawn? Is it going to be late fall when they're putting weight back on? What do you suggest?
I always tell people my favorite month to fish for trophies is either April or August. April is fun just because they're all pre-spawn. You'll get those big fish that are uptight. But yeah, April's a great time. Like I said, even into that first, second, third week of May, depending on water temperatures. But, like you said, you can catch them all year, but if you want to increase your odds, either April or, August, like I said, we'll go up to Door County, and we'll do trophy trips up there. Actually something I don't think we've ever done before, but, that's, it's fun up there. It's not a high numbers game. You're looking at, a good day, you might only catch 5 or 10 fish, but 70% of them are going to be 28 inches and bigger. But you can go up there and cream them too and catch, 20, 30 fish in a day, but you can go up there and catch nothing. It's kind of a risk you're going to take.
Might be an all or nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, you're going more hunting than fishing. You're looking for those big fish. But I mean, if you want to, I've caught fish up to 33.5 inches up there. I mean, they don't get much bigger than that in our waters. But it's, to catch a 30 to 31 inch fish is, definitely a possibility. But in the spring is a good time too. All those big fish, they come down to spawn. So, you got just as good a chance in April as you do in October or in August.
Well, and I think, barring the big one that Art caught on the trip I wasn't along with, another great day we had with you when we caught several large walleye. We were up in fishing in our bibs and parkas.
Oh yeah. It's not ideal fishing conditions, but that's when it's good.
That's when they're out there. Yeah, it's not necessarily ideal and comfortable for the humans, but how bad do you want it, right?
Well, exactly. So it's people throw the word around 30-inch walleye or phrase, and that's not as easy as you think it is. Everyone says that every day they get in the boat. Oh, we're going to catch a 30-inch. I said, maybe. It's it's possible. But it's like, well, a 30-inch walleye. There's people that fish their whole lives that have never caught a 30-inch walleye.
Well, we've been fortunate because we've put a few of them in the boat with you. So, we've been fortunate there.
And Green Bay is one of those places you can do it, though. I mean, there's not too many places that you can go and actually target fish that are that big and have a real possibility of catching them.
Now, like I said, it's time to catch maybe some jumbo perch and maybe go on a trophy trip. And
I saw your eyes kind of light up about something that maybe we haven't done yet. Maybe it was that fall trip.
No, that was the trophy trip, and then, there's a lot of things. I think maybe we should start looking at once a month, and I know you gotta work, so maybe I should start looking at once a month.
I have several guys that do that. They go, it's just cheaper. Or these guys, they used to have boats though. They go, I used to just bring my boat up, and now he goes, oh, it's just cheaper to hire you and come up once a month and fish with them or whatever. They'll book 5 or 6 or 8 trips a year.
Hey, now I think I can find other stuff Art could be doing around here. Before he starts going monthly.
I think I could
you probably are sneaking up there more than that. Not that you're sneaking, but you probably are going up there more than I would realize.
Well, and Boulder Junction's calling my name, and I just got a lot of stuff going on this summer.
You gotta work too, buddy.
Brad and I are busting our tails right now trying to get things done because we start airing here. When do we start airing, Brad? The end of March?
Yeah, I think the last week of March.
Yeah, so we've been trying to get that done.
It's a good time to do it, though, is now. There ain't too much to do.
Well, we start all of our shows.
Trade shows,
consumer shows here shortly. We got Iowa and Ohio and Wisconsin, and then we got our snow goose hunt with Molson, and so we got a bunch of stuff going on.
March will be busy.
Now it's and so because that's so busy, now it's time to really start planning for this fishing expeditions.
Well, when I'll tell you what, when the ice goes out, I'll give you a call if you want to dodge icebergs and go chase big ones. We can.
All right, you let me know when. So if I'm around and I've got the time, I'll be there.
I would suspect it'll be late March or early April. So I think right now I'm planning. I think my first trip starts the end of March 29th or something.
Yeah, and that's about the time we end. And so before turkey season starts, there's a couple weeks there that, you should, if you could only see the look on Michelle's face right now. But I think that couple weeks there is kind of, things are slowing down just a little bit before the first part of April before turkey season kicks in and I start guiding. So,
Well, we can try to do it on a Sunday or something if she wants to come with.
Well, wait a minute here.
I love you, Jake.
I got your back.
So of
But
course,
no, yeah,
I don't
we
think you
always
have
love to
as
have
much
you
time
guys
as
up.
you
It's
think.
always-
I'm sure you'll squeeze in some fishing, no doubt. But I don't think you really have as much time as you think you have off.
put the calendar away.
Because I'm looking at it and it's
Right.
pretty full. Just saying.
Put that away.
I got Sawyer a turkey tag this year too. I'm going to take her
Aw.
out by Eric and try to shoot a turkey. So see if she can. She wanted to do it, so I was like, well, I guess so.
Down where Eric lives?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you
Yeah,
should
so
catch up with us because you'll be driving by on the way down there.
Hey, you'll be right here.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We're going. I think the second week of May, something like that. I don't know. I just waited till it got a little bit warmer for her.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I think it's like the 12th or something like that of May. We'll be doing that. So she was all excited. So she wanted to, we've been coyote hunting lately. So she's got the bug now. So she likes doing that and she wants to go try to shoot a turkey. So we'll
Oh,
see.
fun. I bet she likes to do anything that Daddy does.
Oh yeah. Well, she likes to get out and she loves being outside and goofing off. So that's all good.
Nice. So, so with the fishing, kind of back to that, is there, real quick, I guess, touch on, without giving too much stuff away, you talked about casting, you talked about trolling. Are you trolling with live bait? Are you trolling with wraps? What and the same with casting. What are you doing anything with live bait, or is it all artificial? What are you doing without giving too much away?
Yeah, I mean, Green Bay is no secret. There's unlimited YouTube videos and stuff on, what to use and this and that. Everyone has their personal preferences. I mean, as far as I try to use artificial bait as much as I can just because it's easy and it's less messy. A lot of times you can get away with that, especially for walleyes and stuff. In the spring, sometimes I'll throw some fat heads on a jig or whatnot if the water's real cold or if we're river fishing. But besides worms, we use a lot of crawler harnesses in the summer. Honestly, one of my favorite lures to jig with is just a 1/8 ounce jig or a 1/4 ounce jig and a crawler. I mean, I do I would say at least half of my fishing trips are, if I'm casting is, especially early in the year, is just a jig and a piece of crawler. You can catch walleyes, you can catch white bass, you can catch perch, you can catch bass, you can catch everything on them.
Sheephead.
Yeah, lots of sheephead. I mean, that and plastics, any type of paddle tails are always good. And then Green Bay is probably most well known lately for hair jigs. We've been using them for quite a long time, but hair jigs, you can't hardly beat a hair jig on any day. It's even if you're throwing live bait, normally I'll have one guy throwing a hair jig just for something different or a different approach, But yeah, I mean, as far as trolling wise, we'll do. I troll hard crankbaits quite a bit. If I'm running eater trips for walleyes, I prefer to run crankbaits because I can run a little bit faster and don't have to worry about the white perch and white bass and sheephead nipping off my crawlers all the time and stuff. But that kind of just depends on the time of the year and the bite and water clarity and all that good stuff. So.
And how big a effect does that water clarity have? I mean, that's one of the big things that surprised me with Green Bay is, we're out there and I'm thinking, man, here we go, and we take off in the boat and we go 10 miles, which to you is nothing. To me, I'm like, this is crazy. When we run 10 miles and we're out 2 miles in the lake or whatever, and I'm thinking, okay, we're going to be fishing at 30, 40 feet deep, and all of a sudden, you look and you look at all the graphs and you're 8 feet, 10 feet deep, and you're looking for water clarity, looking down, and I'm thinking, this is crazy. So is the whole lake like that, or different sides more clear? Is it, how much do you really need to pay attention to the clarity as much as the depth, because it doesn't seem like that lake is very deep?
No, I mean, I do my fishing. I mean, the lower portion of Green Bay is extremely shallow. I mean, most of it is 20 feet or less. There's, the middle's, 30 to 50 feet. Once you get out into the upper part of the bay, it gets deeper. It'll get a couple 100 feet deep up there. But yeah, I mean, people are always surprised how shallow we fish, whether it's for muskies or bass or walleyes, whatever. I mean, a lot of times we're 10 feet or less of water, and the water clarity, the whole bay is the same way. It just, what happens is that the water warms up differently, and a lot has to do with the tributaries pumping out dirty water. You'll get a lot of dirty water from that. And then also, the algae bloom later in the year. So that kind of just depends on, what time of the year. If it's early springtime, a lot of times those fish, that clean water isn't going to be the warmest water that's around. So in the springtime, we're always looking for, dirty water that's got a little stain to it, because that dirty water is going to warm up a degree or two quicker than that clear water does. And you don't think that makes a difference, but I mean, a half a degree, 3/4 of a degree when the water's 34, 36 degrees makes a big difference to a fish, So, I mean, in the springtime, it's extremely important, not more the clarity, but more the water temperature than the clarity. But, in the summertime, we'll deal with the same thing. As you'll get Lake Michigan water to come in and clean up, you'll have a good bite going for big fish up north, and all of a sudden the Lake Michigan water comes in and it's crystal clear and cold, and those fish are all gone. I think the bait moves with the water clarity, and the fish are going to move too if the bait moves. So,
right. So, you guys got anything else for them right now at this time? Otherwise, if not, then I guess, where can people find you, Jake? I mean, is it Facebook? Is it a website? Where can they find you to ask questions, or more questions, or to book a trip?
Yeah, I mean, we can do we do a lot of stuff on Facebook, as far as posting and keeping up with stuff. So Epic Guide Service on Facebook, people can reach us at, or my website is epicguideservice.com. There's plenty of different pages and information on there, and areas to contact us if you're looking for a trip. But yeah, we always stay active on social media to kind of keep up with what's going on and show everybody what we offer.
Well, thanks for joining us today, Jake. We really appreciate it, and for sharing some knowledge about our special fishery, the Bay of Green Bay here in Wisconsin. And we look forward to seeing you real soon. And
yeah, for sure. It's not spring yet, so it's still February. We got time.
I know.
It's no, we'll I would love to get you guys out for a pre-spawn walleye bite and see if we can get a bigger one than we did last time.
I'm sure at least one of us will be seeing you soon.
Yeah,
right.
One of us. Yeah, because like you said, it's still too early. As soon as we're done here, I gotta go jump in a plow truck and start plowing snow again. So
we can dream. We can start dreaming.
I know. I'm supposed to be guiding snow geese now. We're not. So we're going to the Bahamas, and about a week and a half, we're gonna go fishing down there and see if we can figure out how to catch some fish down there. So after that, then we'll get serious about getting ready to fish up here again.
All right, sounds good. Good for you. All right, well, that sounds good. That's a wrap. Thanks, Jake, and we hope everyone learned something that can help you own the season.
Thanks for listening.
Check back weekly for new episodes.